Let's get started. Let's make sure my voice is on the right speaker. Looks like that one's the better one. All right, so let's get started. This week is chapter 10. Chapter 10 underway. Thank you, Sheena, for joining me. Hopefully I won't go that long this week. I was like, keep the notes shorter, keep the notes more concise. Anyways, here we are. We're halfway through. I can't believe it. Chapter 10. How to make comparison your teacher. I love this. Kind of a little bit of repeat, I think, from last week, but that's okay. I agree. This list of things that you can change in your life that she mentions at the beginning of this chapter. She kind of names off all areas, personal, professional areas. We can always grow in an area, right? One or more area of our life. We can always grow and evolve. We can find an area to go deep into. For some, it's figuring out that one thing to go deep into. Just like whenever I get approached for coaching, a lot of times people will come to me and have this list of 25 things that they want to improve. But the reality is we've got to work on one thing at a time. And truthfully, and I say this, and usually it's about week 3 in with clients, they'll tell me, you're right. When I work on that one thing, it levels up all areas of our life. It's almost like pruning the hedges. It's about removing some of the things out of our life and opening up space for other things in our life. So I feel like, it's really important to go, like she says, work hard, be consistent, disciplined, and patient. I know that's a lot. It's a big mouthful, but the reality is that's exactly what needs to be done on really anything that you're wanting to level up on. I am curious from you guys that are attending tonight when I open it up, and we have an open discussion, what one appears to be the most difficult for you, right? Work hard, be consistent, discipline, or patient. I'll tell you right now, for me, it's patience. My husband is my teacher for patience. He's got so many patience. It's unbelievable. It'll be 21 years next week that we've been in each other's lives. And let me tell you, I've seen him pop his temperature, maybe 3 times. And the whole time I've known him. So it's pretty crazy. And kind of a bit of a history growing up. I was raised by a very violent tempered person. So for me, it's like, when's it going to happen? It's like, it's funny how we are, what we do see in our youth, how we were raised and what we experienced is really kind of, it follows us everywhere, but it doesn't define us. So it's not what I'm saying. She talks about, again, from even the previous week, I prefer to see, or I talked about it last week, is I prefer to see my competition as my mentor. I love to lean into people that are steps ahead of me. What pitfalls, what things can I avoid on my journey because I'm following on your coattails, in a good, positive way. I love seeing competition as mentors because I truly, honestly believe that when you're doing really well, you're excelling at any area of your life, even if it's pottery or painting, or gardening, or learning how to play piano, or any skill, any talent, anywhere, we're all beginners. We all are learning. And I do believe that we can learn from those people that are steps ahead of us. And I believe that when you're on top, when you're doing really well, whatever it be, golf or whatever that skill or talent or hobby or talent is, it can be very lonely. And I do know that I like to mentor. I like to feel like I can teach other people and serve in some way. So I feel like when you're extend that olive branch and say, show me, help me, let me learn from you. I did a couple of, what do they call it when you go to a job and you work for free? Apprentice, right? I apprenticed a couple times at a hair salon because I thought when I was really young, I wanted to work do hair, right? As my hair is like really big today. I wanted to work in a hair salon, and I went to this really big, vibrant hair salon. Probably the wrong choice, but back then, years and years and years ago, won't say when, it was the place, right? And it was really cool and really hopping, and that was the perception, right? But when you get behind the walls and get in there, and you're there every day, and you're just sweeping hair for free, and you're in that environment, I was like, this is not for me. So pivoted, right? I'm gonna go try something else. So I thought I would be a dental assistant, because back at that point in time, it was a huge high demand and it was very well paid. I got a job at a dentist office just as the go-to person. I don't even think I had an official title, but there were two women that worked there. It was a very small dentist clinic. They were probably women about my age now, really heavy set, really stuck in their way, really grumpy ladies that really didn't want anything to do with this. I think I was all of 17, 18 years old. So I was a child to them. I guess I can understand now. But anyways, they wanted nothing to do with me. They were very mean to me. That wasn't the pivotal point, even though that definitely had an impact on me back then because of where my head was then and my confidence. But the part that sent me out the door was I walked into many rooms. They had me doing things that I know was way above my skill and talent, what I should be doing. But I walked in one of the rooms and the guy opened his mouth and it was just black. And I felt the room swirling, and I have never experienced that. I've been around a lot of really gross things in my childhood. My father was a hunter and fisher, and we lived off the land pretty much. So I saw a lot of gore and a lot of gross things, but that really upset me. Anyways, I do believe in finding people that are on the path of learning and discovering whatever it is that you want to learn and discover and absorb their knowledge. I do believe that. So this chapter, I guess maybe doesn't hit a point for me. Though I know, working with a lot of different individuals, the comparison is something that is out there. I blame social media. Totally. No, I do think it has a little bit to do with it. Comparison is very consuming. I suppose if I look really deep, and I have kind of just out of reflection in the last 2 weeks, I'm like, where in my life do I compare? And there are little places for sure. There are little sparks of like, oh, look at that feeling. And so that is interesting. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to go through this book super slowly, is for my growth, but also to really absorb and apply and look and be curious at where anything in these chapters, because I've listened to it a couple of times and now I'm actually reading it. And you hear different things every time that you read or consume something. So I like that. She talks about in many examples examples that she used in this chapter. My perception of it is how you're thinking and believing that the other person is beating you, right? That other person is better than you. This is my language, thinking and believing, and that they actually can't do that to you, right? They can't, that person, your mentor, if I like to call it, or your teacher, as she likes to call it, they can't inject feelings into you, right? They can't inject feelings of negativity in any way. The jealousy, the envy, well, they're better than me. I can't do it now. They beat me to it. They can't inject those feelings into you. If you start to believe that, you're going to start seeing that everywhere in your life. Really, you're going to be comparing yourself to everything and everybody. And external things can't make you feel any certain way, positive or negative. And that is something I focus with my clients too, is, it's not just one side. There's a polarity here, right? So if you believe that the scale, when it goes down in the morning, when you weigh yourself, is going to make you happy, you also believe that when it goes up, it's going to make you sad. Same thing with everything in the world. I use the scale because I feel like it's so relatable for so many people. I haven't owned a scale in many years. I have no idea what I weigh, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I do love her statement. No one else's wins or losses, or no one's wins are your losses. I don't use a lot of punctuation in my notes, so I'm like, what does that sentence mean? But yeah, no one's wins are your losses. I really like that. I think I haven't, but I think I'm gonna save that in my arsenal of favorite quotes, because it really truly is. That's again, that polarity, right? That believing that someone else is winning, then you're losing, right? And that's not true. Everything is neutral. I know it's elusive and we get seduced by all sorts of different thoughts and feelings and beliefs out there. Everything's neutral. Really, if you scan out and look above the planet, it's just a bunch of chaos going on down here. I like all beliefs that there are, again, my notes. Your behaviors have to match an alignment. I do not know what that all means. I did voice text, so you could tell. I didn't reread this before we jumped on. I apologize. I'm going to skip that paragraph. In her chapter that she reiterates many different times in different ways that comparison is your teacher. Again, some people have a tendency, I like to call it a tendency. It's not something that's part of you or your personality, but we can develop tendencies, and a tendency in my mind is a habit of thought. It's something that's a protection mechanism. A tendency can be autopilot, right? So there are things that have happened in this last week that I was like, whoa, look at what I did. Autopilot kicked in, operating from an old belief. In fact, that happened today. I didn't do anything. I just felt it. I felt this feeling, and I was like, whoa, look at that feeling, and look at that go. And I felt that feeling in the moment, and I chose a different reaction than I normally would do out of that feeling that came through my body. So I really love that when that happens, because I know that each time that I catch that in that space, it actually had to do with money, in fact. And every time I feel that feeling and choose consciously, not on autopilot, I consciously choose a reaction that's in alignment with me, I'm training my brain a new pattern. I'm creating a new wrinkle in my brain. I'm creating a new neural pathway to respond to that thing, money, right? The relationship to money. So just like all things, right? Reading on social media, a comment that I hate your purple hair. Okay, you hate my purple hair. Wonderful. I know I don't have purple hair, so does it mean anything about me? If somebody writes a comment on social media and says that you're dumb and stupid and ugly, I don't make meaning out of that, because I know that I'm not dumb, stupid, and ugly. So, it's really about really knowing where your feelings come from. They don't come from other people's words. They come from your truth. If you're believing in your truth that you are not dumb, stupid, and ugly, then you will not be affected by other people's words. So I feel like that's really kind of the core of what she's kind of pointing towards in this book, with many other different words. The story of Molly, I believe it was her neighbor, the talented interior designer. That was a great story. I really love that story, because I could have a lot of fun with that story in a coaching situation. But she struggles big time with comparison through that whole storyline. And also she asked advice from Mel about social media, and you notice, at least I did, that she's not taking Mel's advice, which goes to show that people usually don't take other people's advice. So it's just, just like I've looked over my life and gone, oh, I've got a physical therapist, and they've given me this sheet of exercises to do. And I put it in my car, and it was in the seat, and then it was in the back seat, and then ended up on the floorboard, and they eventually just threw it away, right? So how many times I've been given nutritional advice too. Here's a nutritional plan in my life, and same thing. I'll do my own thing, right? Like, I don't know, I just don't do it. It's funny how we ask for advice, and coaching is not advice. And that's the reason why, is because a lot of people don't follow through with those things that someone else tells them to do. So it's great proof. I thought that was kind of funny, that we don't follow through with other people's advice. She talks about how Molly went into a spiral, which is a trigger, many different words that we can call it: trigger, spiral, whatever. It's all the same thing. It's a negative emotion. Something in all that is something to work on, right? A trigger, a negative emotion, a spiral, it's just a sign. It's just a signal that your body's giving you. Just again, with somebody posting something on social media, saying something about you directly, or someone else a step ahead of you and posting pictures like she said in that story. And it was great too to read through Molly's story, because in Molly's story, she's a great storyline, right? It's all thought. She creates this narrative in her mind that she's better than me. She's going to get more clients. She's going to take my clients. Like, that's just thought. That's a habit of thought that she's done that before. Usually it's not something that's, brand new, ruminating, poor me, I'm the victim. This stuff is usually repetitive. It's usually on autopilot. So that for me, I really am like a light-seeking missile. I like find that in my clients' language. And I love to find triggers and negative emotions. And out of curiosity, let's explore this. Let's navigate it in a way that's empowering. Let's find a way to heal this trigger, right? This is what I call a learning edge, like me today with that money situation, that occurrence that happened. It's like, I love those things. I love a negative feeling. People are like, what? That's weird. But no, I love a negative feeling because that's where I want to lean in. That's where I'm like, there's something to explore here. And it's me, right? It's not money. It's not where the information came from. I can't point fingers, but it is funny how I hear voices in my head and it's like, let's blame that person. Let's blame that situation. Let's blame that circumstance. It's funny how we humans, at least me, and a lot of people I work with, love to blame something else external. And that's not taking ownership, right? That's placing blame outside of you. And again, that's not possible. It's not true. Everything outside of you is neutral. So when we start to believe that a certain amount of likes or followers or social media credit or whatever is a direct correlation with the success, right? Maybe it's more money, more clients, is in that story with Molly, that are going to, when we see somebody else getting a lot of traction and a lot of momentum on their posts, that's not really true. It's not true at all. I have seen that people getting incredible amount of frenzy and activity on their posts. And I've talked to them behind the scenes and they're not making any money or doing anything amazing or incredible. It's all a facade. It's all fake. And again, we're making up stories in our mind. We're creating this negative that only creates a negative feeling in you, right? And so when we do that, that just creates this belief or this relationship to social media as, they're all out to get me. That's not true either. People aren't posting on social media to piss you off and make you upset. You're giving your power away to something that's quite silly, and then not aimed at you. It's not personal, I promise you. I'm surprised, and I'm going to say this out loud, and you guys are probably going to be like, there is. I'm surprised there's not a social media detox center, like a social media, what do they call it a sober living facility? I'm surprised. I think there is. I really do. I think I saw something years ago, but I think it was a hoax. So I'm not really sure if it's true or not, and I don't want to Google it because who knows what my computer will start sending me then. Mel does state whenever something is making you jealous, right? And I love it when clients tell me, my husband's making me mad. That's not true. That's not true. Unless he's poking you with a stick, like physically creating violence or mentally, emotionally abusing you, it's really not true. So, and she says jealousy is good. I don't know. To me, again, it's something I lean into. I don't call it good or bad. It's a signal, right? It's a signal. It's an alert. It's something to lean into. Other people's wins don't shrink you. Another statement that she said I really like. And then she says that it'll lead you to flip your jealousy into inspiration. I like that one too. Again, this is reframing language. That's really all this is. She is right on a certain level of pain before people make change. I do see witness of that as well too often, right? People will stay in pain until the pain gets so bad that they're backed up against the wall and they're willing to change, right? The pain has to be really bad. I talk to a lot of people that are like on the cusp, they want coaching, they decide not to for a variety of different reasons. And oftentimes it's fear, right? It's fear of that change. Like It's the pain that they're in right now is, maybe a 6 or a 7, but there's this unknown, right? What is it going to be like to get coached? It's scary. It's frightening. Somebody else, some stranger is going to be a part of my life. And that's scary. And then what happens when I have all this change, and it's just that fear of unknown. So some people stay in situations because that fear is less than what's imagined by changing. Now, I do know some people that I have worked with over the years that have completely changed their lives, like 180 degrees, like eliminated their friends, eliminated their family, sold everything and moved. But that is really what their calling was. That was really that was their purpose. They started living their life, really. In that scenario, that one that's coming to my mind is she really was pouring into everybody for 60 something years, pouring, people pleasing, really, for so many years that she lost herself. She didn't even know who she was. She didn't know what flavor of ice cream she liked or what kind of movies she liked. She just lost herself and had such resentment and anger towards everyone that she'd poured into, and thought someone was going to come and save her, literally, at some point in time. Sadly, that's not how it works. But there are 5 common examples of people that stay right in that fear, in that pain, if you will, and fear of change, right? Staying in toxic relationships. I think we all, when I say that out loud, can imagine a couple of faces or several faces over the years that stay in toxic relationships. Avoiding health issues, like, again, more faces, people that I know, that I'm really close to or vaguely know, that avoid health issues because of fear of what they will find out. Some find out, so far advanced that it's difficult. Leaving a job, gosh, I think is that one really, like, I can see so many faces. Like, I can see people right now that are in that situation, just they're staying in a painful, poor culture and toxic job environment. The thing is, though, I will say I have worked with clients too that are on their 4th job or their 4th marriage, and all 4 of them have something in common. And to me, it's like, is it the job? Is it the spouse? There's a commonality here. But another one would be setting personal boundaries with friends and family. I call it personal boundaries because my version of boundaries is quite different than that of most of many on the internet. Boundaries are for you, not for everybody else, or not demands and being a dictator. You don't weaponize boundaries. Boundaries are for you. And delaying the inner work, right? Therapy, maybe coaching, 2 totally different modalities, but putting off that inner work and dealing with things, because, like, I know somebody right now that I could think of that's been divorced like 12 years, and every conversation, the ex-wife gets brought up into conversation, woes me, and that's why I haven't done anything with my life. And I'm like, 12 years, like, I don't think she thinks about you anymore. But whatever, stay in that pain. Again, something that might need to be healed and moved on upon. But again, some people just stay there, and that's comfort because that's familiar. I'm almost done. I don't have that much more to go. Let's see what you guys have to say. Molly, again, the case in the book, had to wait until the jealousy became so strong, right, that she got really angry. Irritation, mad, anger, frustration, comparison before she did something about it. I'm not in agreement with Mel's statement of use a negative emotion such as anger to fuel you. I don't really believe that. I believe that a negative emotion fuels a poor decision. And it often leads to more evidence looking for, that negative, whatever, the anger, right? And placing blame, finger pointing, and complaining. So I'm not a real big fan of that. Mel and I do agree that any negative feeling is something that can be tuned into, as she called it. I call it leaning into. Something good could come from that. And it's something that needs some attention. She and I can agree on that. Jeff Walker states success is about putting in the reps. I love that statement. And they even talk about muscle. But to me, in bodybuilding, that is, before I started bodybuilding, I didn't own a gym membership. But when I was 16, I did actually work at a gym, funny enough. But I never have owned a gym membership until I was 32 years old. But bodybuilding has really taught me a lot, and you really do have to put in the reps, and you stop doing the reps, you lose that muscle. So it's like, you have to put in the reps every day. And same with personal development. It's not a read the book, check the box, and like, I read the let them theory, I know how to do it, and then go on about your life. It really, that's why I did the 20 weeks, is it's something you really got, you really have to implement. You have to put it into action. You have to find spaces and boxes in your life to try it, to apply it, and see what happens, see how it feels internally, because that's how you ingrain any kind of tool or way of being or whatever. Tom Brady, the truth is, you don't have to be special. You just have to do what most people aren't doing by being consistent, determined, and willing to put in the work for it. Again, kind of her words at the beginning in reverse order. I 100% agree with that. The brain is going to move you towards what feels good and familiar, period. That's it. I keep it really simple, familiar, and feels good. So consistency is that familiarity. Another word for familiarity is repetition, right? So it's just putting in the reps. It's doing it over and over and over again. And the feeling good part is brain needs to know it's safe, right? It's reassuring that your brain and your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm okay, I don't have a saber-toothed tiger coming after me. And then you got to be willing to work for it. I've had clients come to me, and I've worked with clients that they're stuck in analysis paralysis. And really what it is they are afraid of basically all three of those. Putting in the work, the consistency, and the determination, but also there's a lot of thought, usually a lot of overthinking, overanalyzing, perfectionism coming in. But it's really, and that's the other thing with bodybuilding, to be honest with you, it's not the workouts, it's not the food. Truly, every time I do prepare for a bodybuilding show, there is a large portion of the 16, 18 weeks in preparation where I feel like I'm in a closet by myself in the dark with a knife fighting myself. It's a mental battle. It's all mental. It's a struggle. It's very, it really teaches you how strong you are. I really feel like it's Survivor. I love the show Survivor. I love the show Alone. Every time I prep for a show, and in a small, tiny canister of time. So to me, it really helps me learn and understand what consistency means, what determination means, and what working on it means, or working for it. Going back to Molly's story, she wasn't putting in the reps. She really wasn't. She wasn't determined. She wasn't consistent. And she wasn't putting in the work. So back to the root of, again, it's your thoughts, it's your stories, it's your beliefs supporting that. Like, I know so many of my brand new clients that come to me like, Heather, I've had a gym membership for 10 years and I've never stepped foot in the gym. Had that statement said to me just last week from a new client. And usually when I sit and talk to them, they're just terrified of stepping in the door. They're terrified of judgment and comparison, right? So that pops up. So what are the excuses for not doing the things that you want to do, right? It's really being really real and raw and figuring out what it is and going deep into one thing, right? One of the metaphors I use with my clients is you can't drill 100 water wells. I know, Lynn, you'll like this metaphor, but if you're drilling a well for water and you have 100 holes started and every day you're just kind of pecking away at random ones, you're not going to be really skilled or talented at one thing, right? So it's really about being committed, drilling that one water well and going deep, right? Learning that one thing and putting in the work, determined, committed to doing that one well. I do appreciate how Mel flips the anger in Molly's situation. She's angry at herself, not at her neighbor. Yeah, I totally agree with that, because again, we could get stuck into this belief that it's the neighbor's fault, it's pointing fingers. So I like that she did state that. I am a real big proponent of again, listening to my client's language. Where are you comparing? Where are you pointing a finger? Where are you blaming? Where are you complaining? Take ownership of your feelings. It's not somebody else's fault. Mel goes on to talk about wasting energy on painful feelings. Yep. So again, being consumed and colluding, right? Talking to other people that reinforce this negative habit is where we can get into a very deep belief that it is other people's fault. I do appreciate the vulnerability of Mel going into the deep, dark comparison back when her and Chris were struggling with his restaurant business. She brings that up in a lot of her podcasts and her books, multiple books and stuff. And so I really appreciate her vulnerability. It helps me relate to her, right, and connect with her. But she did get stuck in the comparison of woe's me on the house. And, I could relate to my whole childhood. I couldn't have friends over because we were so poor. I can totally relate to that. And she's right, with nothing to do with the house. It's in her situation, had nothing to do with the house, the comparison of the house or the money or whatever. It's making a choice, right? We make choices hundreds, maybe thousands of different times a day that impact us, right? We make choices. We have stories and beliefs that we do on a repetitive basis, meaning, am I going to go to the gym today? And, if we stop and think, oh, somebody I don't want to see is going to be there, that's a story, right? So it stops us in our tracks and we don't go. It's really taking ownership of how you want to feel. And are you going to let somebody else, say, I don't like your purple hair at the gym, stop you from going to the gym? That might affect not only today, but years from now. So again, one last time, I'm going to say it really boils down to taking responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings and your actions. That's my takeaway from this chapter, and owning whatever happens today, good, bad, ugly, or whatever, and refraining from probably labeling them as that, but, just enjoying the journey of life. So that's my long 30 minutes review of today's chapter. But I want to hear from you guys. What are your takeaways from what I talked about, or what you remember from chapter 10, or wherever you are in the book? Love to hear your shares. There you go, Lynn.
Oh, am I on now?
Oh, I can't hear you, but that's probably me. Yep, it is me.
Allow.
There, I can hear you.
Oh,
Go for it.
for some reason. Oh, wait.
You're good. We can hear you.
There's a big square box. There we go. I'll just get rid of it. I'm similar to you, I think, in I don't have jealousy for other people and what they know, and because I've always tried to even I can remember even in basic nursing school, there was a woman who seemed to me like she was really smart. She was also very beautiful, but very kind. And so I wanted to be her friend so that I could learn from her. And sure enough, and here we are, very, very good friends all these years later. So, but anyway, the same thing in just because I was a critical care nurse and then went administration and up the food chain. But I always sought out people who I thought would know a little bit more than me, or I liked their approach and how they supervise people. And then I try to emulate what they did rather than feeling all the time like I was in competition.
Mhm.
Having said that, when I was in grad school, the first time when it became got my master's in cardiac nursing. I ran into a girl from Madison, Wisconsin, and she was very competitive, very knowledgeable, and I had that same approach, but she was overwhelming in that she would talk all the time and get everybody's attention all the time. So I always felt like I was an afterthought. So I just worked on it and worked on it and just decided that I had other gifts. And so I would seek out the people that would be a little bit less talkative, aggressive. So anyway, if that fits in with what we're saying. So
Yeah.
anyway, and I've done that my entire life, just tried to seek out other people. I don't think I've ever felt like I was competing with other people because I'm always competing with myself.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I love what you said about competing with yourself, because that I relate to that in bodybuilding. Honestly, is
Right, right.
you know, because it is a super subjective sport or
Right,
hobby,
right.
whatever you want. But I just was looking for ways to improve from my previous show, whether it be my posing, whether it be my um muscle definition or the size of my muscles or whatever. I know that early on when I first started bodybuilding, and very amateur level, by the way, I was the first one I won, and I'm like, I don't know how. And I look at my photos and I'm like, whoa, I don't know how I did that, but it was a journey. It was super fun. I really do believe that, and this is the feedback I got, is you just walk up there with such confidence. You don't shake,
Right,
you're not
right.
nervous, and you're this and that. And so I was always wanting to improve that and be different. Like my posing was very different. Most of the competitors had like the same coaches and the same posing coaches, and so mine would be different. And my theory, my strategy is because I'm not in the same motion as everybody else, I am going to stand out, and their eyes are going to be on me. Like, what is this girl doing?
Mhm.
She's out of tune. She's out of, she's turning the opposite direction. And I thought it was an advantage, and it may or may not have been. I don't know, but I don't know. It's just so funny. But yeah, I love,
Compete against yourself. You
yeah.
compete against yourself, not comparing yourself to other people.
And I would see girls that, would place in their mind poorly. Don't even know, to be honest with you. I don't know where they pose or place. It doesn't matter. But I would see them. I saw all kinds of things behind stage. I mean, just lots of tears, hitting lockers and throwing things and screaming and just all sorts of things. And I'm like, oh, I just get out of there. There's just a lot of energy. And so, yeah, it's placing a lot on that trophy, and all of my trophies are downstairs in the basement and boxes, and to me they had nothing to do that. In fact, who was that? I think it was Mike Tyson. And there was a clip on his, and some stuff he has is actually, for whatever reason, I love it, and then other stuff I'm like, oof. But he had a video out there a while back, something about, they asked him, what are you going to do with all of your belts and your trophies and stuff like that, and he goes, nothing. They're junk. Like, they're meaningless. What matters is the memories, the experiences, my knowledge, how the people I inspired, and all these things. And that is truly, that's intrinsic, right? That's internal. And that's what I help my clients with too, is developing that internal drive and desire to achieve and acquire those memories, the grit, right? Like, the reason why I do it is just learning where my edge is, really pushing myself as far as I can without being tipping over the edge of unhealthy. um and so, that to me is and I would meet some amazing women behind stage, that a lot of them are one-offers, which means they just come do one show. And all it is because it's a women that I met that had overcome cancer, right? Went through their cancer journey and overcame it, then remission. And they're like, I always wanted to do a show. And so they went through the process of leaning out and buying the fancy suit, do all those things. So those are really fun to hear the stories. I know one that was supposed to be paralyzed, and I've actually been on stage with her a couple times. And she's just living her life, like just signing up for shows and doing different things, traveling and just living life, right? And then you get the other people that are there that are, the pro people that are like almost zombie land. They're very into it and very, yeah, there's a variety of different people behind stage, and I absolutely love and gravitate to those people that are maybe after a divorce, or now they're empty nesters and they're always wanted to do this for them or whatever. The stories are just really amazing and incredible. So that's the other reason why I like to do it. It's the people. But Shayna, do you have anything to add to this chapter? You usually do.
I'll share. I love your takeaway. It's always fun to hear your notes because we all read the same thing, but the takeaways are always so different.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're right on all the things that they were all accurate. But my takeaways are totally different, which is so interesting, so intriguing. I like Lynn. Also, don't really compare. I don't know. I just maybe just like body image wise. That's just, I think as a female, that's just, since society's like, oh, what size are you?
Yeah.
So there's that. But besides that, I'm like, oh, what size is her ring, or what kind of house does she have? I don't play the game. But I like this chapter for other things, because the comparison part I really, whatever, don't care about. But I made lots of notes that I liked a lot, and it was more about pushing yourself, like you were saying, Catherine, more like what using it as motivation for you. And I really liked those, jealousy is an invitation from your future self. And I like that, to just kind of make you focus on what it is you want to focus on, and redirecting that it is your choice. But I did lots of things about, if you're not motivated to do something, it's going to take something painful, like you discussed, to make that change, which I totally, and I've walked that path and been there. But I wrote, that your quote about success is putting in the reps, which I've heard lots of times and like that quote a lot. But I highlighted, like, if you just have to do what most people are, like the consistent, determined, and willing to work for it, is just comes down to like grit and just doing it. And I think we all like want to sugarcoat it and find that there's some magic button, an easy button, and that's just not a reality. On page 147, I took out a word. I normally don't like edit the author's words, but I crossed out a word in the line. I love it. It says, right now, the only thing that's holding you back from taking control of your life are excuses, fears, and emotions. And I love that. I like that a lot. And I feel like in your notes, Catherine, you not necessarily didn't hit that part, but I do think that there are things, those three things are holding most people back: excuses, fears, or emotions. And I like that on 147
I was just
a
going to ask
lot.
you what page.
So yeah,
Yeah.
147, like third paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, the only thing that are holding you back from taking control of your life are excuses, fears, and emotions. So I like underlined that, starred that. But I wrote on page 149, actually, I wrote the best line of the book. I actually wrote that down. I wrote the best line of the book, and it's that last page of 149. And it says, if all you ever do is stay on the surface, wasting your time and energy on other people and on things beyond your control, you will never discover the deeper meaning and possibilities in your life. And so this chapter, again, comparison, don't really care. But I think about staying on the surface just personally, not comparing it to whatever Susie Q next door, but personally staying superficial. I think that is really profound. Wasting your time on energy of other people. I mean, again, regardless of comparison, just the fact of wasting your time on other people and things that are beyond your control. And Catherine, when I first met you, that was where I was at. I was worried about the world ending and all the things, and those literally beyond my control, all of them. And so it says you will never discover the deeper meaning and possibilities in your life. So I wrote on underneath it, best line of the book. So I love page 149 a lot. There was other things up higher that I also liked on that page. She said, I was mad at myself because I'd given up on my own ambition. And that resonates a lot with me, being that, whatever, putting people first, innately serving others, which is great and an amazing characteristic I love about myself, but I also have given up my own ambitions. And she talked about how you referenced in the beginning, Catherine, the person who was 66 and didn't know what flavor ice cream that they liked and all the things. So that really resonated with me. So this chapter, I didn't hear comparison like at all. Your notes were great and accurate, but I took away a whole bunch of different things for this chapter, for chapter 10. Those are my notes.
Ooh, very gold. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I highlighted both of those. So yeah, staying on the surface and wasting your time and energy on other people. Like, I feel like that comes up so much in working with people one-on-one and but they don't see it that way. Like, they don't see it that way. They see it as like an obligation, or I have to, or I should, or I must, I ought to, these pressures. And I have a client too that I haven't worked with in probably at least a year, and same thing, he dropped his whole life, everything, moved to be with his aging parents and taking care of them because I have to. And there's a bunch of reasons why. I mean, he'll just sit there and list off all the reasons why, and it is a choice. It is very much a choice. The thing is he continues to go back to, I've stopped my life. And so I mean, what is that going to translate to, right? Likely a lot of regret, guilt, resentment. And I've seen people too that do those type of things, and then, you know, with this huge expectation that at the end that they get like this big, you know, sum of money or property or whatever, and it doesn't transpire, you know, and it's just like, what, oh, and but that again, is that a relationship, you know, holding this thought, this belief, this story in my mind that I'm doing all this because I'm going to get X, right? I mean, is that true? Is that real? Is that really at the end of your life, are you going to be proud of that? I don't know. Like, I feel like that's transactional. That's, yeah, so many things could occur there, but you know, it's a choice. And never, you know, I always meet my clients where they are and what questions they want answered. And it's funny, I had a client last week saying, I just want you to tell me what to do. And I'm just like, if I had a supplement, I'd sell it to you right now because you would buy it. You know, really, that's what you're doing, is you're wanting that quick fix. You're wanting to change who you are, who you're being. You're wanting to change your identity like that. And you're wanting a supplement, you're wanting a pill, a potion, a lotion. I don't have that for you. And even if I told you how and you printed it off, is it going to end up in the car seat, in the back seat, and then on the floorboard, right? Where is it going to end up? Are you really going to actually follow through with it? Because it's not your ideas, it's mine. It's from my life and what I think that you should do, right? But it's not really. I will say at the beginning of my bodybuilding adventure, the adventures of bodybuilding, I did have to trust the process, and I did have to have a list of things to do. Like, that really was like the start of it. It's funny, they call them coaches too. I hired a coach. It's not a coach, just someone telling me what to do. And they just said, just do it. You know, I'm like, okay, whatever, I guess this is what I got to do to look a certain way. And I really did. Especially that first show, I did everything to the T, and some things to my detriment. I actually ended up at one point getting a bunch of blood work done because something wasn't right, something was wrong. And one of the things on the line item was take iron supplements. I had no idea that my body holds iron. Like, I have to be really, really careful and test my irons. I donate blood frequently to lower my iron levels because it just gets really high. But I didn't know that at the time. That was when I found that out, like why I felt so tired and exhausted and worn out and miserable. And it was my iron levels were through the roof because I was taking the supplement, because maybe, I don't know, maybe a majority of her athletes that she tells what to do have low iron. I don't know. But to me, I was like, so that was one of the big turning points to me too, is I never wanted to be that type of coach that tells people what to do, because what if I tell you to take iron, which I never would, and that same thing happens to you and you get really sick or dizzy and something really bad happens. Anyways, kind of went on a tangent there. But I do believe that staying on the surface too, to me, translates to being on autopilot, right? And what I mean by autopilot is living non-consciously, living in autopilot. Or I joke, I always tell my clients, are you in row 32 of a commercial airline? You know, that row that's right in front of the bathroom, that you smell the bathroom and the seats don't recline, you know, and you're stuck at this weird, almost leaning forward position. And you're nowhere, you can't even see the pilot. Like, it's so far up there in front of you, and you're just coasting through life. To me, that's living from all past hurts, right? It's living in bubble wrap, you know, in your comfort zone, afraid to make choices and decisions that are different than yesterday or the day before, or the younger version of yourself. And that translates to an older chapter in this book of, I always forget, is it 6 or 8? I think it's 8, because I think she mentioned it again here. Living from your 8-year-old version of yourself, right? That emotional maturity. And I do believe that if we do just react to life, whatever happens, and we just live that way, we're on autopilot, we're on the surface. And I also do believe too that affects our relationships with other people. So, any other thoughts on that? things you want to add or questions as far as living on the surface?
I think those bigger questions of life of why were just pushed aside. I think kids are so good at living life authentically and being in the moment, and somehow we all shut those off as we get older, and then I think we just coast that aisle 32, and we just, wake up one day and it's over and you're like, wait, I didn't even live my life. I think kids have it, and then somehow society, we shut it off somehow.
I think it's middle school. Like I watched that show on Netflix. It's called Adolescent. It's very the first episode I was like, the second episode gripping. It's like one of the top 10 right now on Netflix. It's only like 3 or 4 episodes, but it is really I like it, especially one episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but it is about, I think he's in middle school and they go through this school and it's brutal. Like these kids, I don't know if that's what school's like these days, but wow. I mean, both my daughters did homeschool most of their high school. Well, one of them had to because of COVID, but finish it off, that last year. But both of them did homeschool a portion of their high school. But I really think a lot of things occur. Like comparison was really big for both my daughters, really, in different ways, both of them differently. But I do think that there's that phase in our lives that it's so paramount. Like just, oh, I hate your purple hair. And as a teenager at that age, you go, oh, maybe my hair is purple. You believe everything everybody says. And you're right, when you're 6'8", 5'4", right in there, you're just so innocent and you don't spiral out of emotions, right? You get over things really quickly and you go out and play, you just play and you just have such an imagination and creativity. And that is another thing. I work with a lot of clients in their 40s, 50s, 60s that they haven't created anything in decades, right? Art or writing or music or calligraphy or dancing or anything. Like that creative side of their brain is just atrophying, right? It's shrinking because they're not using it. And sometimes that's their gift, that's their purpose. So I know for me, photography has kind of come and gone throughout my life, and painting. I know I got divorced, my first marriage, my daughter's dad, and I hadn't painted in years. And I remember buying a whole bunch of painting stuff and paintings all over the place. I ended up taking them all to the dump and getting rid of them at some point. But that, like who wants these? I don't want these anymore. And I just got rid of them. But yeah, it's funny.
I was gonna say that middle school time is well, you are being creative, but I think for girls, it's really a difficult time. And I was 6 feet tall and 120 pounds and had the last name of Gross. And you can only imagine what kids did with that. And it was not purple hair because people didn't do purple hair, but it was your physicalness. And my mom always had me wear not leftovers, the clothes that somebody else had. And so then I would get them, or, what do you call that?
Hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs. Yeah. So then I got all these hand-me-downs from these girls that were like 3, 4, 5, and 6 years older than me, but then they were also out of style. So then I remember, and it causes terrible anxiety for me forever about wearing these clothes that were, can you believe that skirt she wore? And so it really is a difficult time. So at the same time, it's really good learning because you learn more about yourself and then you know, where you fit and how you want to fit. But I can say that during that time was pretty terrible.
I remember, and I know that this goes on currently, but I also remember at that stage of my life, like junior high and high school, there would always be, 3 or 4, not very many, like 3 or 4 girls that did their own thing, right? They wore clothes that maybe didn't really, zebra print and polka dots, and they just pulled it off.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just like, and then people would say things and whisper, and it just was like, I'm rubber and you're glue, you know. And I always, because that I wanted to be trendy, and I was super cute and had really amazing legs and so forth. So I worked that, but I kept the heat off of me. But I really always admired those individuals that, and I know now today, you know, that it's just pure mindset, right? It's just
Exactly.
yeah. And I remember people saying at that age too, you know, these people are not going to be your friends. And I still have one high school friend. She lives way in Florida across the country, but like I said, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do say that majority of the people that I knew back then, I have no idea where they are in the world, but I do, you know, and just like a couple of years ago, I went to a free yoga downtown in Spokane. It was a free yoga out in the center of downtown Spokane. It was really cool. You bring your own mat. I think this was pre-COVID actually. And this beautiful woman wore white sports bra and white little like biking shorts. And she had a little bit of cellulite, no big deal, right? But she wore it in such a way that I was like, dang, I wish I had that kind of confidence. like, and she rocked it. Like it looked amazing. And I know that if that was my body with my brain, I wouldn't do it. I would be like, no way in a million years would I wear this. But she rocked it. And I love seeing people like that. I'm like, I just want to drink that whatever you drink every night, you know, that potion or lotion that has you feeling that. And I know that's not true, right? It's back to that whole, if I had a supplement, I'd sell it to you because you'd buy it.
Right,
It doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside. And I just love that. I love people that are that confident and that strong and that just owning it. And I absolutely love that. So is that comparison? I don't know. I think that they teach us something, or at least for me, I'm like, look at her wear those white tiny little shorts and that white sports bra, and like that's awesome. And I mean, even at the stage lean, like when I get that, I still wouldn't wear that. And it's all here. It's all in my stories. It's all in my head. It's all it is. It's all it is. So I don't know. But you're right. I think that period of time is very influential on, that's where those stories start, I do believe. And at home, and things that we see and what we experience and what's modeled in front of us throughout our childhood, and what's right and what's wrong, what's appropriate, what's not. And, you know, and even manners.
Yeah, manners. Yeah.
Right? Like I tease my husband, Lynn, you'll get a kick out of this, and Shana, you probably will too. My grandma, I grew up, so I had two polarities. I had my grandma, she was the prim and proper and taught me manners and, you know, how to sit like a lady and how to eat properly and this and that. And then my grandpa on the other side of my family, he's the chain smoker and, you know, like that much dirt on the floor and chickens running through the house. So I got polarities. And I think that really made me, because I got to see the different, like, there's not one way to eat, you know. There's not one way of doing things. I think it really helped me develop into who I am today. And so I really appreciate that. So
Yeah. That's a cute story.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life. If we were all the same, it'd be pretty boring.
Pretty boring, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I think I said that last week or maybe the week before, that I wouldn't want to marry me, right? Like, because there's things that my husband does, and like, you know, eating. And I'm like, why do you do that? In my head, I don't say it out loud. I'm like, why do you do that? And then I hear myself in my head, and I'm like, look at me judge him. He's just eating. He's just living life. Let him eat like that. Like it's funny. But I wouldn't want to live with another me. Like that would be horrible. Like the whole bathroom counter thing. I love the the little clips that show, you know, where he left his toothbrush out on the counter and the girl is just like, oh, that's so terrible. He's such a pig. He's such a mess. And I can't believe he left this out. And then the camera somehow pans past her side of the bathroom counter and it's just, that's us. I love it. It's fun. But they are so simple. At least he has like, he doesn't need many things, you know, he's so simple. That fascinates me. I love that. Like what is it like every day to wake up and have the same hormone level? What is that like?
That's funny.
Wouldn't it be cool?
I don't think we'll ever know the joys of being a female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for tuning in, and hope to see you again next week, if not
Thank
the
you.
week after. So much pleasure to share this time with you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you. There's something on my schedule next week, I think, so
Okay.
I'll let you know.
We'll skip, but
Okay.
thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to the next chapter. I really want that one.
Oh, okay. Well, though it's recorded too, so you can always.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Is it Shanna or
Shayna.
Shayna.
Shayna? Nice to meet you, Shayna.
Same with you, Lynn. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.